الله الرحمن الرحيم. طه ما أنزلنا عليك القرآن لتشقى إلا تذكرة لمن يخشى تنزيلا ممن خلق الأرض والسماوات الرحمن على العرش استوى له ما في السماوات وما في الأرض وما بينهما وما تحت الثرى وإن تجهر بالقول فإنه يعلم السر وأخفى الله لا إله إلا هو له الأسماء الحسنى وهل أتاك حديث موسى إذ رأى نارا وهل أتاك حديث موسى إذ رأى نارا فقال لأهلهم كثوا إني آنست نارا لعلي آتيكم منها بخبر أو أجد على النار هدى فلما آتاها نودي يا موسى إني أنا ربك فلما آتاها نودي يا موسى إني أنا ربك فاخلع عليك فلما آتاها نودي يا موسى إني أنا ربك فاخلع المقدس طوى وأنا اخترتك فاستمع لما يوحى إني أنا الله لا إله إلا أنا فاعبدني أنا ربك فاخلع عليك إنك بالوادي المقدس طوى وأنا اخترتك فاستمع لما يوحى إني أنا الله إني أنا الله لا إله إلا أنا فاعبدني وأقم ذكري إن الساعة آتية إن الساعة آتية أكاد أخفيها كل نفس بما تسعى فلا يصدنك عنها من لا يؤمن بها واتبع هواه فترضى وما تلك بيمينك يا موسى وما تلك بيمينك يا موسى قال هي عصاي أتوكأ عليها وأهش بها على غنمي ولي فيها مآرب أخرى قال ألقها يا موسى قال ألقها يا موسى فألقاها فإذا هي حية تسعى قال خذها ولا تخف سنعيدها سيرتها الأولى واضمم يدك إلى جناحك تخرج بيضاء من غير سوء آية أخرى لنريك من آياتنا الكبرى اذهب إلى فرعون إنه طغى قال رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري قال رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقه قولي واجعل لي وزيرا من أهلي هارون أخي أشدد به أزري وأشركه في أمري كي نسبحك كثيرا ونذكرك كثيرا ونذكرك كثيرا إنك كنت بنا بصيرا صدق الله مولانا العلي العظيم.
السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.
الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن محمدا رسول الله أشهد أن محمدا رسول الله حي على الصلاة حي على الصلاة حي على الفلاح حي على الفلاح الله أكبر الله أكبر لا إله إلا الله.
إن الحمد لله نحمده ونستعينه ونستهديه ونؤمن به ونتوكل عليه ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا وسيئات أعمالنا من يهده الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلل فلا هادي له وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن سيدنا محمدا عبده ورسوله ونبيه وصفيه وحبيبه بلغ الرسالة وأدى الأمانة ونصح عن الأمة وجاهد في سبيل الله حتى أتاه اليقين وتركنا على المحجة البيضاء ليلها كنهارها لا يزيغ عنها إلا هالك فاللهم صل وسلم على سيدنا محمد في الأولين وصل وسلم على سيدنا محمد في الآخرين وصل وسلم على سيدنا محمد أعلى إلى يوم الدين وصل وسلم على سيدنا محمد في كل وقت وحين وعلى آله الأطهار وعلى أصحابه الأخيار وعلى أتباعه الأبرار إلى يوم الدين. يا أيها الذين آمنوا اتقوا الله حق تقاته ولا تموتن إلا وأنتم مسلمون. يا أيها الناس اتقوا ربكم الذي خلقكم من نفس واحدة وخلق منها زوجها وبث منهما رجالا كثيرا ونساء واتقوا الله الذي تساءلون به والأرحام إن الله كان عليكم رقيبا. يا أيها الذين آمنوا اتقوا الله وقولوا قولا سديدا يصلح لكم أعمالكم ويغفر لكم ذنوبكم ومن يطع الله ورسوله فقد فاز فوزا عظيما. وبعد فإن أصدق الحديث كتاب الله وإن خير الهدي هدي سيدنا ومولانا رسول الله وإن شر الأمور لمحدثاتها فكل محدثة بدعة وكل بدعة ضلالة وكل ضلالة في النار. In the next couple of days, our country will be celebrating its 243rd year of independence. And it is arguably, and without doubt, the most important civic holiday that we have as Americans. I do not want to use this time to speak about the importance of political liberty, self-rule, or the values that are enshrined in our founding documents, like the pursuit of happiness, or even the internal struggles that we have to overcome as a nation to arrive at our current moment. All of those are important and they deserve to be reflected. And I hope that in the coming days and weeks we do think of those things. However, today what I would like to address is I would like to speak about the importance of our republic vis-a-vis our faith. Now you might find this strange that the khutbah would be about the republic. Actually, you're probably used to the opposite. You're probably used to the khatib on Friday cursing this government, cursing that government, making dua against this person, making dua against that person, taking you this direction politically, taking you that direction politically. We're not used to hearing the song of patriotism sung from the minbar. And one of the regrettable things of the modern Muslim is that we have lost on the whole the ability to have a discerning mind. A discerning mind. To not be able to differentiate between things, to not be able to discern the differences between things is a sign of intellectual laziness. But historically, one of the things that Muslims excelled at was their ability to differentiate between things. To look at something that might appear similar, but to differentiate between them. And that was one of the hallmarks of our intellectual tradition. There is a difference between what we can call high politics, which I will address momentarily, and partisan politics, or what can be called low politics. High politics are those meta issues that concern our organization as a polity, all of us together. They are beyond party, they are beyond race, they are beyond creed, religion. They are beyond anything and everything that can and does divide us as citizens of the same unit, of the same union. It is those things that are fundamental to our social existence together. And this is what Aristotle meant when he said that man, human being, is a political animal. Man is a political animal, the human being is a political animal, meaning that we must, as a species, organize and live together. It is impossible that we will, by default, live separate. But we have a need to come and live together in harmony. That is what I mean by high politics. And that concept of those meta issues that concern everybody equally are touched by these things, they stir within us oftentimes deep, deep emotions. For some people, the sight of a flag stirs up emotions. For some people, remembering a battle in history in which a loved one died stirs up emotions. For some people, it's seeing the date on a calendar. For some people, it's hearing a song, a patriotic song, that stirs up in you this great emotion. And this is something that is actually quite natural. When Imam al-Dhahabi described the Prophet ﷺ, one of the ways he described him is he said he used to love his nation. كَانَ يُحِبُّ وَطَنَهُ. He used to love his homeland. He used to love his country. And we have many hadith in which the Prophet ﷺ speaks to Mecca, which was his home. And he was kicked out of his home. And he stood there as he was leaving and he looks at the city. I mean, we call it a city now, but at that time it was a state. It's an independent political unit, separate from Yathrib, Medina, until the conquest of Mecca, later in the Prophet's life, sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And he stands there and he speaks to the city. And he says, "You are the most beloved of places to me. And were it not that your people kicked me out, I would have never left." Declaring his love for his home, his love for his people, his natural patriotism. And from this and many other descriptions, the Prophet ﷺ spoke to the Kaaba. The Prophet ﷺ spoke to the people of Mecca. Very common in the literature of the hadith. This is so common that not only did Imam Dhahabi describe this as one of the salient features of the Prophet ﷺ, but we have this statement that emerged in our history, حُبُّ الْوَطَنِ مِنَ الْإِيمَانِ. Love of country is from faith. Some people, they think it's a hadith. It's not a hadith, but it's a statement of fact. It is a factual statement that one's correct understanding and practice of Islam engenders a patriotic spirit. It is a natural outcome of one's faith. Now, why is that the case? The question is, why is this such an important topic? Why even talk about it in this venue? Why did the people in the past have this statement about the Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam? To answer this question, you look at the jurists, the fuqaha. The fuqaha, when they looked at the literature of the seerah, the biography of the Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. Now remember, the jurist's job is different. The jurist is not a historian. The historian's job was to catalog all of the events as they were happening, when they happened, regardless of if this narration is strong, if this narration is weak. They're writing a chronology and chronicling the life of the Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. The jurists, they look to the seerah, amongst many things, to understand how, where, and when did the Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam do certain things and not do certain things. So when they did that, they noticed that there were certain places, certain circumstances, certain conditions in which certain rulings of Islam were not practiced. And there were conditions and places and locations and times, etc., in which those that were not practiced here, were practiced there. And just to give you a simple example so you understand what I'm talking about, when we fast in the month of Ramadan, everyone who is able to must fast. What if you're sick? What if you're traveling? So these are a different condition. What if you're unable to because you have a permanent condition? So that condition allows you to break your fast. Maybe you pay an expiation or maybe you make it up. But the original condition is that you fast. So when the jurists looked at the way that the companions lived their lives in Mecca and Medina, there were certain things that the companions in Mecca did not do, were not able to do. For example, the Prophet ﷺ didn't pray Jummah in Mecca before the Hijrah, even though the Muslims in Medina prayed Jummah prayer. It wasn't until after the conquest of Mecca that the Muslims of Mecca started to pray Jummah, etc., etc., etc. And the jurists found that in order for Islam to be practiced in its entirety, there needs to be a certain level of freedom to be able to practice this Islam. And they called this overarching condition Darul Islam, the abode of Islam, which is unfortunately, other than the fact that people like ISIS and them, they reappropriate these terms, Darul Islam, Darul Harb, and I'm not going to talk about that now. But many Muslims, they think that this is a function of demographics. It's a function of majority. And yes, in the Muslim majority world, we would call that Darul Islam, but not because of the demographics. Rather, it is a function of freedom. It is a function. The companions that were persecuted in Mecca for the 13 years before the Hijrah of the Prophet ﷺ, they were tortured. They were old people, they were disenfranchised people, they were a minority, and they were tortured. They couldn't pray in public, they were beat. They couldn't practice. Sayyidina Bilal radiallahu anhu was tortured for belief. All of these stories that we have. So the Prophet ﷺ allowed them, some of them that were able to, that had enough resources, to go to Abyssinia, to live under the protection of a Christian king. And when they went to Abyssinia, they enjoyed this level of freedom that they did not enjoy in the state of Mecca. They were able to pray, they were able to fast, they were able to learn their faith, they were able to marry, divorce, prepare their food, bury their dead, learn their deen, say the adhan, all of these things. So they created their own Dar al-Islam. And Imam al-Mawardi, one of the great Shafi'i jurists and Qadi, he said that Dar al-Islam exists wherever you are able to practice your faith, regardless of your demographics. It doesn't matter how many you are, but if you are able to assemble freely, without fear, if you are able to construct your mosque, if you are able to marry according to the Sharia, divorce according to the Sharia, prepare our food according to the Sharia, bury our dead according to the Sharia, teach our children the language of the Quran, teach them about the Prophet, teach them the Quran, etc. If we are able to do these things, then Imam al-Mawardi, he said, this is Dar al-Islam. And that freedom was so precious for the companions in Abyssinia that after the Prophet ﷺ migrated from Mecca to Medina, many of them did not join him in Medina. And the Prophet ﷺ let them be. And many of them married and had children in Abyssinia. And the Muslim community in Ethiopia, we have a few members in our community, they will tell you, and they are proud, that we are of the original, from the first generation of Islam, that they lasted all of these centuries. Now this freedom, this liberty is so precious, is so fundamental, not only to our lives as normal citizens, but specifically in the context that I'm speaking of, to our lives as Muslims, that sometimes, oftentimes unfortunately, we are called to defend it and to give, as President Abraham Lincoln said, the last full measure of devotion. And likewise, the companions in Abyssinia, even though they were living in peace, a neighboring kingdom sought to invade the empire of Axiom and attack the Najashi. So the companions of the Prophet ﷺ fought in the Najashi's army side by side, putting their lives on the line to defend their home, to defend their country, to defend their land, to defend their political unity. And many of them were distinguished for their bravery in battle, awarded medals of honor for their battle, and acknowledged. And the companions said, when the Najashi won, this was the happiest day of their life. Now imagine a companion, somebody who had actually seen the Prophet ﷺ, seen him, talked to him, and the Prophet ﷺ taught them Islam. But despite all of that, they cite that moment of victory for their new homeland the happiest time of their life. That is how fundamental this idea is of the political union under which we live, through which we are able to practice our faith. That this really is a gift. Because there are many people with our same faith around the world that do not have the freedoms that we have. There are many people in the name of Islam, there are many people rather that are Muslims that are not able to congregate to pray, that are forced not to learn Islam, and Islam is slowly being erased generation after generation. Not able to organize themselves, not able to worship together, not able to fast. How do you force someone not to fast? I don't know. It's the most passive thing we do, but yet there are people that they force them to break their fast in the month of Ramadan. I mean, very diabolic things. And we take the freedom that we have to practice our faith for granted. And that's why I wanted to discuss it in this manner. Now, just like the companions put their selves on the line, Islam and Muslims have been fundamentally intertwined with the great story of the making of this country. And even though they were few in number, there were Muslims that fought in the American Revolutionary War. And there was even greater number of Muslims that fought for the Union side during the Civil War. And then so on and so forth. I mean, as we get closer to modernity, even more and more Muslims fought in these wars. But there were Muslims who fought in America's founding, Revolutionary War, the War of Independence, what we celebrate on the 4th of July. And this is an Islamic trait. This is a sunnah of Islam. This is a sunnah of the Prophet. The companions fought with the Najashi. The companions fought with the Prophet to defend Medina. All of the battles of the Prophet were all to protect Medina. There was not one offensive battle that the Prophet took against the Quraysh. The ulama that studied the maghazi, the battles of the Prophet, all of them were from a defense. He was defending his home. And the companions put their lives on the line, like in the Battle of Badr, which was the most decisive battle of Islam, where if we had lost the Battle of Badr, there would have been no Islam. There would have been no Quran, there would have been no Sunnah, there would have been nothing. And sometimes it requires that dedication, as President Lincoln said in the Gettysburg Address, last full measure of devotion. Such a beautiful phrase. It's a measure of devotion, of faith, to put your life on the line for the most fundamental freedom, just to be who you are. And that is why this is important. Now, having said that, as we wind down, I do want to say something about low politics and partisan politics. And I know that what I'm about to say will either anger some people or confuse some people. You might disagree, and alhamdulillah, I'm leaving tomorrow on holiday, so it's okay. By the time I come back, everyone will forgive me. But it requires a warning, intervention. Low politics, partisan politics, is basically everything else other than what we spoke about. It's about political parties, fiscal policy, domestic policy, foreign policy, whatever the trade, all of these things, which are important. Low doesn't mean that they're not important, but they are beneath the greater concept of the republic, of the union that binds us together. What is the role of Islam in partisan politics? Nothing. There is no role for religion in partisan politics. And let this be a warning. The people that use faith and inject it into partisan politics, whether they're Muslim or whether they're Christian or whether they're Jewish, is the most grotesque usage that there is. Priests, pastors, rabbis, imams, all of these people that endorse candidates, Muslim Democrats, Muslims for Obama, Muslims for Trump. This is a gross misuse of religion. Because religion is above these things. That doesn't mean that you can't be a Muslim and be involved in partisan politics. Be involved. Wear your MAGA hat, join the, but not in the name of Islam. Because if somebody says, if I said to you, the Democratic nominee is going to be the Muslim candidate, then that also assumes that the sitting president is not the Muslim candidate. And if you really believe in what I say, which maybe like 5% of you do, then you will think that if I vote for the sitting president, I'm sinning. This is haram. And I have to vote for the other president, or the other candidate. But religion cannot be used for this divisiveness. Religion, like the republic, like the union, is something that binds us together. Whether the person next to you is wearing a MAGA hat, or whether they're wearing whoever of the 1,500 people that are running for the Democrats end up becoming the Democratic nominee, doesn't matter. They're still your Muslim brother and sister. They're still allowed in this place. If they die, we will pray on them and we will bury them, despite of their partisan politics. And this is really, really scary because in this country, and it's very timely because we're entering into this, it will be like this never-ending process until the election. You will see and you will hear people trying to coax Muslims in the name of Islam this way or that way politically. You will also see, if you pay attention, people in this county, churches, synagogues, that try to push their congregations this way or that way, and this is a gross, gross, gross misuse of religion. This is extremely dangerous. Islam, Christianity, Judaism, Hinduism, Buddhism, all of the faith traditions have nothing to do, should have nothing to do with partisan politics. Whether it's in this country or elsewhere. There is no Muslim candidate. Just because somebody is Muslim and they're running for office, it doesn't mean that you as a Muslim have to vote for them. Maybe they suck at their job. Maybe their policies are incoherent. Maybe they are failed people and they have nothing to offer, no coherence in their platform. And we pray for you, you're a Muslim brother, you come to the mosque, but don't expect me to endorse you. Don't expect me to allow you to stand in the mosque and address the congregation without letting the people that are running on for the same seat also to come and address the mosque as well. So on and so forth. And I know that this will be very unpopular. And I'm not saying this to be popular, but I'm saying this because this is a warning to our community. We must teach our children the importance of patriotism. We must teach our children to stand for respect when we hear the national anthem, when we see the flag, to celebrate our Independence Day, to remember those who passed before us, who fought for this nation. My country, 'tis of thee, sweet land of liberty. Of thee I sing, land where my fathers died. Land of the pilgrim's pride. Our father, every month we're burying people in the Frederick Cemetery, the other cemeteries, people from this community, our fathers and our grandfathers and our uncles and our aunts. This is the land where most of our families will be buried. So this is what we mean by politics, Islam and politics, high politics, patriotism, the importance of the republic, the importance of the union, the importance of the history that brought us to this moment. Not only do we honor this, but we thank Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for creating this Dar al-Islam for us, that we are free to practice our faith. That's something that we should cherish and we should honor. But that's it. Islam does not go further than that. If you want to be involved in partisan politics, do it, but not in the name of your faith. Do not drag your faith in that. Something to reflect on. أقول قولي هذا واستغفر الله لي ولكم فاستغفروه إنه هو الغفور الرحيم. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. اللهم صل وسلم وبارك على سيدنا ومولانا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم. Few announcements. Brother Sheikh Hamid had a major surgery, so we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for his speedy recovery. I heard that it went well and he's recovered, so we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to help him heal quickly. A reminder that there's no halaqah this Sunday because Tanif is traveling. I'll have my class tonight, but this will be my last class until mid-August. I'll also be traveling starting tomorrow. So tonight will be the last Sirah class, inshallah. And if anyone has questions, issues, my phone will be working, email, all of that. If you feel that you need to reach out to me, no problem. Having said that, the last thing I'll say just before we make the dua is on this issue of partisan politics. Please, before you critique me, and please, I don't mind people pushing back. You can be wrong and I can be right, that's fine. But don't forget to discern, to listen to the distinction that I'm trying to make. Because sometimes people don't hear that there's a distinction. I am making a distinction between high politics and low politics, high politics and partisan politics. As long as you keep that distinction, we can argue for a few minutes after Jummah, that's fine. And we'll accept each other at the end of the day, inshallah. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to allow us to thank Him for the many blessings He has bestowed upon us, those that we remember, those that we forget. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to protect our families, to have mercy on our parents, to protect our children. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to have mercy on those who have passed before us. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to help enlighten our hearts with the beauty of the Sunnah and the beauty of the Quran. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to accept our fasting during the month of Ramadan. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to protect all the children who have finished schooling. We ask Allah to protect them this summer. May they not slide too much in the summer, and may they retain what they learned throughout the year. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to help our businesses and to help our elderly. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to protect our center from any harm that may befall on it. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to forgive us for all of our shortcomings and to lift us and to lift those around us. Allahumma ahdina fi man hadayt, wa afina fi man afayt, wa tawaddana fi man tawallayt, wa barik lana fi ma a'tayt. Allahumma qina wasrif 'anna sharra ma qadayt. اللهم تقبل صلاتنا وصيامنا وقيامنا وركوعنا وسجودنا يا أرحم الراحمين. اللهم اغفر لنا ذنوبنا وإسرافنا في أمرنا وثبت أقدامنا وانصرنا على القوم الكافرين وانقلنا من دائرة سخطك إلى دائرة رضاك وافتح علينا فتوح العارفين بك واحشرنا تحت لواء نبيك صلى الله عليه وسلم يوم القيامة. اللهم اسقنا من يده الشريفة شربة ماء لا نظمأ بعدها أبدا ثم أدخلنا الجنة بغير حساب ولا سابقة عقاب ولا عتاب ومتعنا بالنظر إلى وجهك الكريم في جنات الخلد يا رحيم. اللهم ارحم حينا وميتنا وحاضرنا وغائبنا وارفع أيدي الأمم عنا وأقمنا بالحق وأقم الحق بنا. وآخر دعوانا أن الحمد لله رب العالمين وصلى اللهم على سيدنا ومولانا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم. وأقم الصلاة إن الصلاة كانت على المؤمنين كتابا موقوتا.
الله أكبر الله أكبر أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن محمدا رسول الله. حي على الصلاة حي على الفلاح قد قامت الصلاة قد قامت الصلاة. الله أكبر الله أكبر لا إله إلا الله.
استقيموا رحمكم الله. صلوا صلاة المودع. Prayers if this is your last prayer. Remember, there's overflow in the basement for the gentlemen and in the library. Allahu Akbar. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم والعصر إن الإنسان لفي خسر إلا الذين آمنوا وعملوا الصالحات وتواصوا بالحق وتواصوا بالصبر. الله أكبر. سمع الله لمن حمده. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم قل هو الله أحد الله الصمد لم يلد ولم يولد ولم يكن له كفوا أحد. الله أكبر. سمع الله لمن حمده. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله.